Have you ever found yourself scrolling through an endless digital feed of curated perfection? A sea of manufactured smiles, polished achievements, and picture-perfect vacations, and in the middle of it all felt a profound, almost paradoxical sense of loneliness. You see hundreds of friends, thousands of followers, yet you feel like a ghost in the machine, an invisible observer in a grand digital theater where everyone is playing a part. And the most exhausting part? The gnawing, unspoken pressure that you must play your part too. This isn't a modern phenomenon, it's a deeply human one, simply amplified to a deafening roar by our hyper-connected world. We live in a grand theater of masks. From the moment we wake up, we begin the ritual. We choose our costume for the day. The sharp professional, the carefree artist, the devoted parent, the spiritually enlightened seeker. We rehearse our lines, the correct opinions to have, the witty anecdotes to share, the appropriate expressions of sympathy or outrage. We step onto the stage of the office, the coffee shop, the family dinner, the Zoom call, and we perform. We perform not because we are inherently deceptive people, but because we are deeply vulnerable. We perform because somewhere along the way we absorbed a terrifying idea that our raw, unedited, authentic self is somehow insufficient, that it won't be enough to earn the love, the respect, the validation, or the security we all crave. And so we construct a better version, a more palatable version, an avatar we believe the world will accept. We build a fortress of agreeableness, of success, of indifference, of strength, whatever the role demands. But living inside a fortress is indistinguishable from living inside a prison. The very walls we build to protect ourselves end up isolating us. The mask we wear to be accepted prevents us from ever being truly seen. This creates a constant, low-grade hum of anxiety in the background of our lives. It's the quiet fear of being found out, the dread that one day the mask will slip, the curtain will fall, and the audience will see the confused, flawed, beautifully imperfect human hiding backstage. They will see us for who we really are, and they will leave. This is the quiet terror that fuels the performance. We become expert critics of other people's performances as well. We sit in the audience of their lives, passing judgment. He's so confident. She's always so positive. They have the perfect relationship. We mistake the costume for the person, the performance for the reality. We spend so much of our precious energy analyzing these meticulously crafted images, comparing them to our own, and feeling either superior or, more often, hopelessly inadequate. It's a game with no winners, a theater where every actor is also a prisoner of their own role. But what if I told you there was a way to see beyond the stage? What if there were two simple, almost invisible keys that could unlock the truth, not just about others, but more importantly, about yourself? This is not a guide to becoming a human lie detector, or a manual for cynically deconstructing everyone you meet. To approach this knowledge with the intent to judge is to miss the point entirely. This is something far more profound. This is a map that leads you through the confusing labyrinth of social performance and back to the quiet, solid ground of authenticity. It's a tool for discernment, for clarity, and ultimately for a deeper and more meaningful connection, first with yourself and then with others. These two keys don't require you to analyze words, because words are the primary tool of the performer. They are easily rehearsed, easily manipulated. They don't require you to interpret grand gestures or public declarations, as those are often the most heavily costumed parts of the act. Instead, these keys direct your attention to the small, unguarded moments that happen between the scripted lines. They reveal the truth that leaks out from the edges of the performance, the reality that shows itself when the actor forgets, just for a second, that they are on stage. They are two tests, so simple and so fundamental that they bypass the thinking mind, the strategic, image-conscious part of our brain, and reveal the deeper currents of a person's character. Understanding them will change how you navigate the world. It will recalibrate your social compass. It won't necessarily make your life easier. Truth rarely does. at first, but it will make it infinitely more real. It will give you the clarity to know who to trust, who to learn from, and who to love with an open heart. But there's a warning. Once you learn to see with this clarity, you can't unsee it. You will start to notice these things everywhere, in everyone. And most unsettling of all, you will begin to see them in the mirror. This journey isn't about exposing the world. It's about having the courage to meet your unmasked self. So, are you ready to find the first key? It isn't found under the blinding glare of the spotlight, where everyone is on their best behavior. It's not in the prepared speech or the public persona. The first key is found in the quiet, unobserved corners of life. It's revealed in the shadows, in those small, seemingly insignificant moments when a person believes no one of consequence is watching. We arrive, then, at the first key. It is a key forged not in fire, but in silence. Its power lies in its ability to reveal character in the spaces where performance ceases to be necessary. In our culture, we are conditioned to think in transactions. Every interaction, subtly or overtly, is measured by a calculus of potential return. What can this person do for me? How can this connection advance my goals? What will I get back if I give this? This mindset, this return on investment applied to human relationships, has become the default operating system for so much of our society. So here is the first test, the first key to seeing past the mask. Pay meticulous attention to how a person behaves when there is absolutely nothing in it for them. Watch what happens when the transaction is over, or when a transaction is never even possible. This is the moment the actor's energy drops. The effort it takes to maintain the performance is a finite resource, and the strategic mind will not expend it where there is no perceived reward. If the kindness, the charm, the attentiveness were all just parts of the costume, this is where the costume is dropped in the dressing room. But if those qualities are woven into the very fabric of their being, they remain. They have to, because it takes no effort to be who you are. There's a story often told about the Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman, a man whose genius was matched only by his profound curiosity. During a conference in Brazil, surrounded by the world's top scientific minds, one might have expected Feynman to be constantly networking, cementing his status in the intellectual elite. Instead, colleagues would find him in the hotel kitchen, spending hours laughing, talking, and playing bongo drums with the cooks and servers. Think about the calculus of that moment. For a man of his stature, there was zero transactional value in that kitchen. Those workers couldn't publish his papers, fund his research, or enhance his reputation. They could offer him nothing to advance his career, and that is precisely why the moment is so revealing. Feynman wasn't performing the role of a brilliant physicist. He was simply being Richard Feynman, a man genuinely fascinated by people, by rhythm, by life. Regardless of the status or station of the person in front of him, his respect and curiosity were not tools to be deployed for personal gain. They were intrinsic states of his being. The mask and the man were one and the same. Now contrast this with an archetype we all recognize, one deeply embedded in American culture: the high-powered executive, the Wall Street broker, the tech startup CEO. In the boardroom with investors or at a dinner with a major client, the performance is dazzling. They are charismatic, attentive, remembering the names of spouses and children. They listen with hypnotic intensity. They are the epitome of charm. Their success, in large part, is built on this very performance. But then, watch them after the deal is closed. Watch how they speak to the Uber driver on the way to the airport. Listen to the tone they use with the barista who gets their complicated coffee order slightly wrong. Observe their reaction to the janitor who is cleaning the floor in their path. The charm often vanishes. The attentiveness is replaced by a dismissive impatience. The person who was just a vessel of warmth and connection becomes cold, efficient, and sometimes cruel. The waiter, the driver, the cleaner, they are seen not as human beings, but as functions, as obstacles, or worse, as invisible. This isn't a momentary lapse or a bad day. It is a revelation. It reveals that the charisma was a strategy, not a character trait. The warmth was a weapon, not a worldview. It was a costume worn for a specific audience, and once that audience left, the costume was no longer necessary. The energy was conserved for the important people, the ones who mattered in the transactional calculus of their lives. This brings us to a deeper, more profound layer of this key. This is not merely about being nice. It's about a fundamental philosophical choice each of us makes in every small interaction. The choice is this: do you see the person in front of you as a fellow human being, possessing an inherent dignity and worth, or do you see them as a function, a means to an end? To treat the person who holds the door for you with the same genuine gratitude as the CEO who could offer you a job is to make a powerful statement. It's a declaration that your respect for others is not contingent on their utility to you. It affirms that you believe in a world where every person has intrinsic value, not just instrumental value. This is the bedrock of true character. It's the difference between performative kindness, which is conditional and strategic, and authentic compassion, which is unconditional and flows from a place of recognizing our shared humanity. The person who is kind only to those who can help them is not a kind person, they are a strategic person. The person who is respectful only to those in power is not a respectful person, they are a submissive person. Their behavior is a map, not of their heart, but of the power dynamics they perceive in the room. So, for the next week, try this. Don't focus on the big speeches or the public accolades. Look at the margins. Watch how people interact with the invisible cast of their lives. The person who bags their groceries, the customer service representative on the phone, the child who interrupts them with a seemingly unimportant question. In these quiet, unrewarded, transaction-free moments, the soul becomes visible. You see the truth without its makeup on. You will see moments of grace that will move you to tears. You will see small, casual cruelties that will chill you to the bone. And through this practice of clear seeing, you will begin to understand the world with a new depth. You will learn to navigate the complex theater of human interaction, not by reading the script, but by recognizing the true character of the actors. Watching their actions in these unguarded moments shows you their moral compass, their ethical GPS in action. It's a powerful tool for understanding their integrity. But the second key, well, the second key is even more intimate. It doesn't just show you their map of the world. It lets you hear the music playing inside their soul. If the first key shows you a person's moral compass in action, the second key offers something even more intimate. It is a direct glimpse into the internal landscape of their soul. Words can be sculpted, rehearsed, and deployed with strategic precision. Actions, as we've discussed, can be performative when an audience is present. But a genuine, spontaneous laugh, that is a wild thing. It erupts from a place far deeper than the conscious mind. It is a neurological flash flood, bypassing the cerebral cortex, the part of you that manages your image, and bursting forth from the primal, emotional centers of the brain. Laughter is a form of involuntary confession. Here is the second key, the second test of character. Pay attention, not just you must learn to distinguish between the two fundamental forms of laughter. The first is the laughter of connection. This is the laughter that bubbles up from a shared recognition of life's absurdity. It's laughing at a clever pun, at the delightful innocence of a child or an animal, at a moment of self-deprecating humor, or at the universal comical struggles of being a flawed human in a confusing world. This laughter builds bridges. It says, I see you, I get it. We are in this strange, beautiful mess together. It's a sound of joy, of inclusion, of warmth. Then there is the second kind of laughter, the laughter of superiority. This is the laughter that feeds on the humiliation, failure, or suffering of others. The Germans have a famously precise word for it, Schadenfreude, the joy derived from another's misfortune. This laughter doesn't build a bridge, it digs a pit, placing the laugher on one side and the object of their amusement on the other. It's the snicker at a cruel piece of gossip. It's the gleeful sharing of a video of someone falling or embarrassing themselves. It's the harsh chuckle at a joke that punches down, that demeans a person or an entire group based on their race, gender, orientation, or vulnerability. This is where you see the truth. A person can spend all day posting inspiring quotes about kindness and compassion. They can donate to all the right charities and speak with eloquent passion about justice and equality. But if you see their eyes light up, if you hear that genuine, uncontrolled giggle escape them when someone tells a story that belittles another human being, you have just been given a seismic reading of their inner world. In that moment, the carefully constructed performance of the good person has been short-circuited by the soul's honest reaction. Their laughter has confessed what their words were trying to hide. Consider the culture of the roast in the United States. It exists on a razor's edge. When done between true friends who have a deep foundation of love and respect, a roast can be a form of high comedy, a celebration of shared history and affectionate teasing. But how often does it devolve into something else? How often is it just thinly veiled cruelty, an opportunity to voice resentments and insecurities under the guise of "it's just a joke"? The person who consistently revels in this latter form, who seeks out opportunities to roast people who are not their equals or who have not consented to the game, is revealing a deep-seated need to establish dominance by diminishing others. Their amusement is a byproduct of their own insecurity. This takes us to an even deeper psychological layer, one described by the pioneering Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. Jung proposed that every one of us has a shadow, a part of our unconscious mind, that contains all the impulses, desires, and weaknesses that our conscious self rejects. It's the part of us that is resentful, cruel, selfish, and arrogant, the aspects we try to hide not only from the world but from ourselves. Often, when a person laughs with genuine, unrestrained delight at an act of cruelty, they are witnessing an external expression of their own unacknowledged shadow. Their conscious self would say, "I am a kind person. I would never want to humiliate someone like that." But the shadow, the repressed part of them, feels a vicarious thrill. The laughter is the sound of the shadow being seen and gratified. It's a momentary release of a dark impulse that they would never dare act upon themselves. So when you hear someone consistently laugh at the pain of others, you are not just seeing a mean person. You are hearing the echoes of a deep internal conflict between the person they pretend to be and the parts of themselves they have refused to face. Think about the content that goes viral. Of course, much of it is heartwarming and creative, but a vast portion of it is built on humiliation, failed compilations, people being recorded at their worst moments, secretly filmed arguments. The insatiable appetite for this content speaks to a collective shadow. A person who finds this to be the peak of comedy, who seeks it out and shares it with glee, is telling you something profound about their internal state. They are telling you that they find relief, or perhaps even pleasure, in the small destructions of others. I am not suggesting a single misplaced laugh is a final judgment. We are all flawed. We can all be caught in a moment of thoughtless amusement. What I am pointing to, once again, is the pattern. What is the consistent flavor of their humor? Does it spring from a place of love or a place of contempt? Does their laughter feel like a warm, shared blanket or a cold, sharp knife? The person who laughs with genuine delight at kindness, at wit, at the playful absurdity of existence, reveals a soul that is at ease with the world. Their joy does not require someone else's failure. But the person whose deepest amusement is consistently triggered by mockery, by cruelty, by the demeaning of others, is revealing a soul in distress. A soul that perhaps feels so small that the only way to feel big is to make others feel smaller. So now we have two keys. The first key, watching how someone acts when there's nothing to gain, unlocks the door to their ethics. It shows you their integrity. The second key, listening to what makes them genuinely laugh, unlocks the door to their psyche. It shows you their heart. Together, these keys give you an almost X-ray vision into the character of those around you. It's a powerful and sometimes unsettling form of clarity. You begin to see the vast difference between the role people are playing and the reality of who they are. But here comes the most difficult and most important part of this journey. The bravest thing you can do with these keys is not to use them on the doors of others. The ultimate test is to have the courage to turn them on the one door we are often most terrified to open, our own. For 3 modules, we have been holding these keys, learning how to see the reality behind the performance in others. It is a powerful, clarifying, and sometimes sobering skill. But as I warned, the most challenging and transformative moment comes when we stop pointing this light outward and instead cast it inward. The 2 keys are not just windows, they are mirrors. And what they reflect back can be far more shocking than anything we see in another person. So now, let us be brave together. Let's take the first key, the key of the transaction-free moment, and hold it up to our own lives. Ask yourself and answer with the kind of brutal honesty that can only happen in the silent privacy of your own mind. Who are you when you believe no one of consequence is looking? When the deal is done, the guest has left, the need to impress has evaporated. Think of the last time you were truly frustrated or tired. How did you speak to the call center employee who was just following a script? What was the tone in your voice with the family member who asked for one small thing when you were already feeling overwhelmed? What thoughts ran through your head about the driver who cut you off in traffic? In the anonymity of the internet, what kind of comments do you leave? Or what kind of thoughts do you harbor as you scroll past the lives of others? In these moments, there is no ROI. There is no strategic advantage to being patient or kind. There is only the raw, unedited reaction of your nervous system and your character. What does that reaction reveal? Does your kindness have an on-off switch, one that gets flipped the moment a situation no longer serves your interests? Be honest. The goal here is not judgment, but clarity. Seeing this truth is the first step. Now, let's pick up the second key, the one that glints with the dangerous honesty of laughter. Hold this mirror up to your own amusement. What truly makes you laugh? Beyond the polite chuckle at your boss's bad joke, what content do you seek out in the quiet hours? What videos populate your For You page? When you laugh, a real, deep belly laugh that you can't control, what is the trigger? Is it the clever subversion of an expectation, the warmth of a shared human experience? Or is it, if you're being truly honest, the satisfying sting of schadenfreude? Do you find yourself drawn to compilations of people falling, failing, making fools of themselves? Does a flicker of amusement cross your face when you hear gossip about someone you secretly envy? Does your humor build connection, or does it rely on creating a target, a butt of the joke, an other to laugh at instead of with? The algorithm doesn't lie. It shows us what we click on, what we linger on. It is a ruthless mirror of our soul's true appetite. This self-examination can be deeply uncomfortable. It's easy to create a self-image, a persona, of a kind, compassionate, evolved person. But the mirror of these 2 keys often reflects back the very things we've tried to deny: our own pettiness, our impatience, our insecurities, our capacity for casual cruelty. We see the shadow parts of ourselves, and the temptation is to immediately look away, to shatter the mirror, and retreat back into the comfort of our performance. But let me tell you why you must not look away. In 1971, a psychologist named Philip Zimbardo conducted one of the most famous and terrifying experiments in modern history, the Stanford Prison Experiment. He took a group of healthy, psychologically normal college students and randomly assigned them to be either prisoners or guards in a mock prison. The experiment was supposed to last 2 weeks. It had to be shut down after just 6 days. Why? Because the students playing the guards, dressed in their simple costumes of authority, rapidly devolved into sadistic, cruel tyrants. The students playing the prisoners became passive, traumatized, and broken. These were not bad people. They were ordinary people who had been consumed by a role. The costume they wore and the power dynamic of the situation completely overwrote their individual character. The mask became the face. The Stanford Prison Experiment is a chilling, real-world demonstration of the power of the roles we play. Whether the role is guard, CEO, spiritual teacher, or perfect parent, the danger is the same. We can become so identified with our performance that we forget the human being underneath. We start to believe our own act. This is why looking in the mirror is not an act of self-loathing. It is a vital act of liberation. Seeing the gap between who you pretend to be and who your unguarded moments reveal you to be is the beginning of healing that divide. It's the start of what Carl Jung called integration, the process of courageously acknowledging your shadow, not so you can act on it, but so it no longer controls you from the darkness. You cannot change what you do not own. When you notice yourself being short with the cashier, you have a choice. You can justify it, I'm having a bad day, or you can see it for what it is, a crack in your own integrity, and choose differently next time. When you catch yourself laughing at someone's misfortune, you have a choice. You can dismiss it, it's just a joke, or you can ask yourself, what insecurity or pain in me is being gratified by this, and begin to heal it. Character is not a fixed monument you were born with. It is a garden that you must tend to every day. These moments of self-reflection are the act of pulling the weeds. It is difficult, unglamorous work. No one gives you an award for the kindness you show when no one is watching, or for the cruel joke you refuse to laugh at in your own mind. But this quiet, internal work is the only path to becoming a whole, integrated human being. It's the only way to ensure that the man or woman in the mirror is someone you can truly respect long after the audience has gone home. Once you begin this honest process of seeing yourself, you realize the goal isn't perfection. The goal is wholeness. The goal isn't to eliminate the mask, but to know when you're wearing it and to have the freedom to take it off. And when you can do that for yourself, you can finally use this clarity not for judgment, but for something far greater. You can use it to choose. You can finally choose, with wisdom and with compassion, how you want to show up in the world, and, just as importantly, who you want to share that precious world with. So here we stand, at the end of our exploration, holding two very simple yet profoundly powerful keys. The first, you'll remember, unlocks the truth of a person's ethics by revealing how they act when there is nothing to be gained. The second unlocks the truth of their soul by listening to the sound of their unguarded laughter. We have turned these keys on the world, and most terrifyingly, we have turned them on ourselves. The temptation, with this newfound clarity, is to become a judge, to sit in the high tower of our own discernment and label the people below us. Genuine, fake, good, toxic. But to do so is to miss the entire point of the journey. To use this knowledge merely to categorize others is to remain trapped in the theater, simply becoming a more discerning critic in the audience instead of a liberated actor. The true purpose of seeing clearly is not to build a better fortress around your heart. It is to finally have the wisdom to know which doors to open. It is to recognize the profound difference between a crowd and a community, between a network and a fellowship. For years we are taught to build our networks, to collect connections like currency. But a life rich in connection, yet starved of genuine intimacy, is one of the great silent tragedies of our modern age. This clarity gives you the courage to choose who you allow into the precious, finite space of your inner world. In a culture that screams for more followers, more contacts, more superficial validation, the path to meaning often lies in choosing less, but choosing better. You might find that your circle of friends becomes smaller, but its depth and strength will increase exponentially. You will trade 1,000 acquaintances for a handful of allies for your soul. You will stop investing your finite energy in performing for those who are only interested in your mask, and start co-creating a life with those who are not afraid of your unedited, authentic self. This is not about finding perfect people. Perfect people do not exist. This journey of self-reflection has shown us our own imperfections, our own shadows, our own capacity to wear a mask. Instead, it is about finding real people. People who are also engaged in the difficult, clumsy, beautiful work of tending to their own inner garden. People whose kindness persists when the spotlight is off. People whose laughter comes from a place of joy, not a place of scorn. Because character, in the end, is not found in the grand declarations people make on the brightly lit stage of their public lives. It is not in the mission statement on their website or the inspiring bio on their profile. Character is a language spoken in the quietest moments. It is revealed in the currency of casual kindness, in the grammar of unguarded laughter, in the consistent, unrewarded choices a person makes when they think no one is counting. And once you learn to see this truth in others, and once you commit to living this truth in yourself, you are no longer just an actor playing a role. You become the author of your own life. You can choose, with wisdom and with clarity, what story you want to tell, not with your words, but with the sum of your small, unobserved actions. You can choose not based on the performance, but on the undeniable reality of who you truly are when the curtain comes down and the audience goes home. And now, I want to turn this conversation over to you, to the community gathering in this space, because the most powerful stories are not the ones I tell, but the ones we share. In the comments below, I want you to share a story. Tell us about a moment when the mask slipped. A moment when you saw someone's true character revealed, or perhaps your own. Was it a moment of shocking disappointment, or one of unexpected beauty? Was it revealed in an act of kindness to a stranger, or in the nature of a private joke? Was it a frightening realization, or a liberating one? There are no wrong answers here. This space is not for judgment, but for shared recognition. By telling our stories, we do something powerful. We tear a small hole in the fabric of the grand performance. We remind each other that behind every carefully curated profile, behind every avatar and every role, is a real person navigating the same complex, confusing, and beautiful search for what is real. I will be reading and learning from your experiences. Thank you for walking this path of clarity with me. Now, let the real conversation begin.